anybody need a pen or a piece of paper that they can get on their way in? Like all the business, we find them on the front. And like all the camera things, you guys are on the party time because it's 12:41. We're getting tough those 4 minutes. This is something impressive. Grab a pen and a piece of paper and go in. Thank you. I have 2. tried. Hello. Hello. Just got to stand in front of the thing. If I have not had a chance to meet you, I am President Mark Bledsoe, and it is an absolute privilege to be able to serve here and to serve you. I will start by simply saying thank you. The fact that you're here in the midst of all of this chaos that is our world right now, and all of the uncertainties and all of the questions about what is going on in our world, the fact that you are still willing to bring your children to a school like this one says a lot about you. And I would say even more importantly, it says a lot about the gospel of our Lord, right? Because that's why you're here. You're here because you know that Jesus is the most important thing in anyone's life. And so the fact that you are willing to bring your kids to a school like this in the midst of this pandemic says that you love your Lord and you love the ministry and you love those who serve in that ministry. And so for that, we are very grateful for your confidence and for your trust in bringing your children here. So it is not lost on our campus, among our faculty, among our staff, that is a privilege of ours to be able to serve you and to serve your family as we serve our Lord Jesus. So thank you for that opportunity and that privilege. We will go through a variety of things. You are welcome to ask questions at any moment if something comes up and you would like to know. I will give the presenters free rein to simply say, hold on to that question, because I have a slide on it later. But if it's in your mind and you want an answer, please raise your hand and we will try to get to as many of those questions as possible. But I'm going to start off by simply saying this. This is our school year theme, Safe in the Lord. We will gather in our very first chapel service under that theme, Safe in the Lord. And so I want you to just think for a moment about when or what it is that makes you feel safe. If you see the picture and you were there in that castle, and there were people bombarding that castle, and you stood behind those walls, you're safe, right? You feel like there was protection, you feel like you were covered, you would feel as if there was nothing that could touch you because you were safe. I will tell you, there's no amount of hand sanitizer that's going to keep your children safe. All the silly things you're wearing on your faces today are not going to keep your children safe. They are protections. They are things that we do to try to keep them safe. But that's not what we're fighting against, is it? What we're fighting against is something much greater than that, and that's why your children are here. They could go to any school that you enrolled in, and yet they're here for a reason. Because you want them to know that they are safe from a much more powerful enemy than a virus. But they are safe because they are in the Lord's hands. And so these are the words that we'll use as we gather for our chapel on Monday morning. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. As much as we are willing to do what is necessary to have your children here, to put precautions in place for social distancing, masks, and hand sanitizer, and teaching hand washing, and teaching them how to sneeze. Much more importantly, we're going to teach them that they rest in the shadow of the Almighty. That they have a God, a rock, a fortress who cannot be shaken. And therefore, as they go through their lives and potentially in their ministries as well, no matter what is coming at them, they rest in the knowledge that their sins are forgiven in Christ and Christ alone. And therefore, they are safe. Safe in the Lord. Okay? You know our school. You know what we're all about. But if you would do me a favor, will you read these words with me? This is our mission statement. The special purpose of Michigan Lutheran Seminary is to prepare high school students And I just ask you to do the same thing. Just think for about 10 seconds or 15, and just pick up one word in that mission statement that stands out to you. Now turn to the person next to you and tell them why. Tell me why. Oh, it got quiet. Yeah.
Prepare, because we want to prepare them for the Lord's work.
Yeah. Prepare. Acts 4, the ministry is about preparing other people for works of service. And God willing, that's what we get to do here on this evening. Any others? Encourage. Excellent. I don't know who said it. Sorry. Encourage. Tell me why. Tell me. I don't know who said it. You don't ask. I can't see your face. You're all better looking, by the way. Who said it? Can I ask? That's what it's about, right? It's about encouragement. Very few 14-year-olds stop on our campus and know what they want to do for the rest of their life. I would ask you to raise your hand, but I don't want to know how many of you know what you want to do for the rest of your life. That changes. College programs of study, I think they will change about 5 times as they go through college. It's a challenge, right, to know. And so what we're here to do is not to force by any stretch. It's a spirit-worked thing to say, I want to be a pastor, or a teacher, or a missionary, or a staff minister. But we do get to encourage them. We get to look for gifts that God has given to them, and we get to say, you got gifts. There's potential for you. If you choose to use those in that way, that's your choice. But we want to encourage you to think about that. Last one, anybody else? One more? Gospel. Why? That's what it's all about, right? If they're in the gospel, they're in a Michigan Lutheran Seminary. And so every day we gather here to hear the gospel. Every day we gather here again in the evening to hear the gospel. Every day in our classes, and every single class, as part of that curriculum, it is Christ-centered, gospel-centered. Because we want co-workers to be gospel-focused. We want our people to hear gospel messages. Christ is the Savior. That's what it's all about. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Here's your quiz time. Ready? How well do you know MLS? I've got 6 questions, all multiple choice. Okay? First one, what is the opening date of Michigan Lutheran Seminary? Here are your options. September 20th, 1887. September 10th, 1907. September 13th, 1910. And September 30th, 1910. I do have prizes for whoever gets the most right. Yes, plural prizes. Okay? You got your answer? All of a sudden, everybody started writing it down. Oh, your prizes. I'll participate now. Number 2. In what year was Old Main constructed? Ready? 1863, 1887, 1910, or 1915? Old Main, if you don't know, is the It's about where I think probably between where the dormitory and the 50s wing, right in that particular area, if I remember correctly. Okay? The bell for Old Main is still outside on the walkway to the football field. If you care to see it sometime, is up there. Third one, in what year was Cardinal Field added to the MLS footprint? 1952, 67, 77, 85. Part of the reason for putting this on here so that you all know that we do have a Cardinal Field. It is not on this campus. Right here, it is on, it's about 1.2 miles away on Mackinac Road. We have a full-size track. We have also our baseball diamond out here, and also we're all just part of our campus, it seems like. Number 4, how many organs, how many pianos/keyboards, not organs, are on the MLS campus? Ready? 26, 32, 53, or 67? Not organs. 5. How many hand sanitizer stations? 32, 53, 67, 123. This was as of Friday. I think there are still some that are being installed. So the count counts as of Friday. And yes, I will allow you to walk around and count and prove me wrong, because I actually did it. Just when I was bored. And number 6. How many countries has Student Bada visited? 3, 5, 7, or 9? Oh, sorry, 5 questions. I thought I had 6. I did have 6. I didn't type it.
That was 6.
That was 6? Oh, I forgot to change the number. Okay. All right, so first one. Question number 1 was opening date of Michigan Lutheran Seminary. This is the only trick question. Trick question because it actually has 2 answers, right? So this was the original Michigan Lutheran Seminary, 1887, constructed by the Michigan Synod before Michigan had joined with Wisconsin and Minnesota and Iowa and other states. They constructed or organized, I should say, a seminary for the purpose of training their next pastor. So September 20th, 1887. Our official date is September 13th, 1910. Makes us the 110th year here on this campus. September 13th is our official birthday. But it's a little bit of a trick question. Because if any of you can tell me this date and why, I'll give you credit. Nobody chiming in? It is amazing to me and ironic, I don't know what the right term is, but there are seals on our campus, and one of the seals says September 13th, and one of the seals says September 30th. The official date is September 13th, but one of the wooden seals that is beautifully carved, it's fantastic. It says September 30th, 1910. So, if you can tell me why, I would give you credit. But these 2 are the correct answers, so if we had A or C, you got it correct. What year was Old Main constructed? Nobody knows the answer. 1887. 1887. Anybody know what year it came down? 1962. 62. How well do you know MLS? What year was Cardinal Field? 85. Yep, 85. Good. I think it's remarkable if you think about that. The administration wing, where all of the administration offices are now, all of that was added in 85. The gymnasium was added in 85, and Cardinal Field was added in 85. Talk about a monumental project for this campus. That's awesome, right? So yeah, 85. How many pianos? 53. 53. And the last one, how many hand sanitizing stations? Ironically, 53. I did walk through and count all the pianos and all the hand sanitizing stations at different times, and I went, that's just weird. And no, they are not next to all of the pianos. Last one, how many countries? I should say, hand sanitizing stations will increase by 28 in the next week. There are going to be 28 more installed, I think, because we're still waiting for some of that stuff to be delivered to us and then refilled. Countries? The tutor at the bottom? She likes to travel. 9. Okay. How many we got? 4 right. Ooh, how many we got? 5 right. 6. Okay. For those of you with 5, I got a tiebreaker question. Ready? How many students have graduated from Michigan this semester? It's not multiple choice, it's whoever's closest. You have 10 seconds, ready to go. Don't try to count. Those of you who got 5 right, raise your hand when you're done. 2, 3, 4. Anybody need more time? What's your answer, Mr. Fry?
4,900.
4,900. Someone behind you?
160,000.
Okay. Say what? 3,000?
2,500.
15,000.
And the number is, well done, 4959. Now, I think all of our seniors that we thought were going to come didn't come. We have 2 new ones this week. And so that means we have a class of 41. So whatever senior has the last name in the alphabet will be our 5,000th graduate this year. Pending they all stay and graduate. No pressure, seniors, no pressure. But for our winner, I think enough. What you always wanted. A mask. MLS mask. And beautiful. If you have not picked one of these up in the Cardinals nest yet, please do. They are fantastic. I think they're $20. Pretty good. So, excellent. This is an expression you're going to hear quite a bit. It is something that we value on our campus, the family, the intimacy that we have because of our close connection, a smaller size. We get to know our students extremely well. But more important than that, it is something that is carried out. We want to treat each other like brothers and sisters. You say that. We want to treat each other even better than brothers and sisters. Because we have the same common bond of faith. And that's what unites us together here at MLS. We believe that Jesus is the Savior of the world. We believe that through Him we have strength to carry out His purpose in our lives. And so we're going to gather over and over again, and you're going to hear the expression, and not just an expression, but you're going to see it played out. This is really family here. We love that. We treasure that. We try to foster that mentality because of the bond that we have in Jesus Christ. So I hope that you, not just because you have your kids here, your grandkids here, but that you love and support the school, that you can and do count yourself as part of the MLS family. So you'll see your students will see that as they grow and mature and they start to love this place even more than they maybe already do. So, a couple of introductions real quickly. We have 3 new tutors on our campus this year. Tutor Martha Balky, she is from New Ulm, Minnesota. She is teaching German 2 and PE, and then helping with girls JV volleyball. God willing. Okay, Tutor Dylan Solomon is going to teach Algebra 2. He's a boys varsity baseball assistant, and he is a 2015 graduate of MLS. So he is a tutor this year, and then a tutor later with the body, you heard a little bit earlier. She teaches Spanish 1. She's also the proctor for our online courses that Professor Kopp will talk about in her academic portion. She's also helping JV basketball this year. So we're extremely grateful to the Lord for providing us these servants that will serve the Lord in a great way. In so many ways, they are the first line of help for your kids that live in the Lord. They really are, and they do a fantastic job. So if you can, at some point or another, just say thank you to them. These years in the dorm are interesting years as an adult living back in the dorm with high school students. You can imagine what that's like. They love it. But it gets to be tough. It gets to be a challenge, the hours that are put in. So as you have an opportunity, please do thank them. And then obviously Tutor Jensen is returning this year, so he's not a new one, so we didn't make the cut up here. We still love it. New faces as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get Mrs. Kelly's picture, but she is a new school health professional. We used to have a school nurse, and we had to change the name of it. We are not required by law to have an officially registered school nurse, but we have the next best thing, and Mrs. Kelly, she is a retired nurse of 30 years of experience. When she moved back, correct me if I'm wrong, but when she moved back, she did not renew her license, but certainly knows healthcare, and so she's going to be very capable. I've already heard really good things about the work that she's doing, so she is new, I believe. Pretty sure that we're not doing Friday. So they will be able to remain here, but they will go immediately after class, and they will go immediately after gathering stuff out of the locker down into the study hall. Hopefully that will allow some flexibility of transportation, and then also maintain the precautions that we have in place. Any questions on any of that? The last thing I have is just simply, okay. There was symptomatic students. They will immediately be isolated, and then their parents will be called and informed that they have a child who has shown symptoms of COVID. Right now, our testing is a 48-hour turnaround. I was told by the Covenant Healthcare System that on Monday that will be official, that it will be a 48-hour turnaround. There is rapid testing available. Unfortunately, we found out after the fact, they did not tell, not really happy, but they didn't really tell us this until about a week afterwards, that the rapid results testing does not actually test for COVID-19. Even though the sheet says you tested negative for COVID-19, it tests for whether or not you have antibodies for COVID-19, so it does determine whether you actually have it or not. So the rapid response test, while you can still get it, it really doesn't do any good in the short term. If a student in the dorm were to happen to have symptoms, we will simply put into action this protocol that we will immediately call you. We will isolate them to where they are, depending upon the severity of their symptoms. And then from that point on, we will set into place whether, if you're a person coming from a distance, it may be better just to leave them isolated in their dorm. If you live an hour away, it may be better for you to come and get them and take them home until that test is returned and we have a clear diagnosis whether or not there is. So I will say this, I beg for your patience in all of this. It is constantly changing. And that is the best thing I can tell you. I'll be honest, I was on the phone with the Saginaw County Health Department 3 times in one morning, and I got 3 different protocols to follow. All of them superseded the one that I got 10 minutes earlier. And so some of you were involved with that, and I thank you for your patience that day. Some of you put did I hear? 15,000 miles on your car this month because of things like that, so, I beg for your patience, and I thank you for that, so, I have a question here. Or did I cover
There
it?
was actually one down here, but I guess I would hear a little bit more, you probably covered more with students. But, it appeared that you're keeping the town students quite separate from the dorm students, is that true?
Yes. Outside of the academic building, yes, we're trying to keep the town students as separated from them as we can.
The past socialization is gonna be different this year, you're saying?
The what?
The past socialization of the two groups used to be basically one group until it was time for bed.
Yeah.
Okay, I did that, just wanted to make sure so that
It kills me to say yes.
if I get asked that, that did appear that was,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, that's the best I can say. Terry? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, okay. So 3 questions. Where do town students go for free periods?
Free periods, yeah, for town students and free periods, because there are going to be limited amounts of them, they will be able to gather in the commons. We are going to simply say, please try to keep your distance from each other, but that's a little bit more manageable than having 50 to 70 of them in the commons at one time. It'll be a class at a time, and so it's the commons are not going to be off limits, but they're going to be managed, if we can say it that way. In a lot of these things, we don't have solid answers. We just try to do our due diligence. So
Where are students going to eat lunch if they bring their own?
they will eat in the commons area. They will also be allowed to eat outside. We will be encouraging children or students to go outside and take their masks off. Obviously, in the Sunken Gardens area, in that area over there, I don't think we want them out necessarily on the street, but although, never mind.
And last but not least, can dorm students still come to a town student's home for the weekend?
Yes, with parental permission.
On study hall with siblings, they're not, they can come and go at separate times. It doesn't have to be from 3:15 to 5:30.
Correct.
I got one across country when they're done with
Yeah.
practice. The sibling that's not practicing.
Correct. Yeah, we're not mandating that basically, it's a guided place for them to go that allows them to remain on campus. We're not saying you have to be there the full hour, 2 hours, whatever. If they come for a half hour and then they go, that's fine. But
What's the plan if your child is told they have to stay away for 2 weeks from making no network? Is there digital versions of the classes?
yeah, it depends on the sickness of the student. And that's why we didn't put anything specifically on paper as to how to handle it, because every student's gonna have a different level of reaction to if they have a diagnosis or not. If they are extremely symptomatic, we're gonna have each of the professors working with the student to try to catch them up on the material they missed. I think we left it up to each of the professors to make the determination of what is essential that they have to do and what is not essential. And so they will be communicating with you on those matters.
Okay, so my daughter is getting a headache. Is that a sign of COVID?
I don't think so. I have to look at the actual COVID checklist.
That would say, like, if she's on headache, I'm gonna have to go get tested and stay home for 2 weeks.
I'm sorry, you guys said it.
If she has a headache, she either has to get tested or go home for 2 weeks.
There are protocol, or there is a sheet, I don't have it in front of me unfortunately, but there's a sheet that says, in fact, I know, I was supposed to be listening, but it wasn't my fault that I wasn't. But there was a Saginaw County Health Department thing that they were doing, and I was talking to parents about another situation. But they said there are some things that are, if you have one symptom, you don't, if you have 2 symptoms, you do. And I don't remember what those are right now, because it probably changed since when that happened too, so. I know, and so that's the challenge, and you can talk to a couple of our parents, we had a couple of football players that reported they had a cough and a sore throat, and so we went into protocol mode, unfortunately. fortunately, everybody tested negative with the rapid response test. We did what we felt was appropriate at that moment to try to keep our kids safe. We found that later on it wasn't the best thing that we could have done, but we didn't know that at the time. So, in every situation, we're going to look at it and say, do they hit the checklist of the things that mark as far as COVID symptoms that require protocol? We don't really have much of a choice other than that.
So when the student has symptoms, what is the process? Is the school going to arrange for them to be tested here in town, and they can remain isolated if they don't seem overly symptomatic, and they can stay here? Or should we come get them and we're supposed to get them tested? What's the process?
Either one. I think it depends on the parent and what the parent wants to do. We are willing and ready and able to do that. We have a quarantine room for them to go into. We have several rooms that we can set up for that purpose if need be. But I think it is determined more by what the parent wants to see happen. If they want their son isolated for 2 days waiting for a test return, and they want him to stay here, great. We have capability to continue to teach him while he's isolated. If the parent would say, no, I want him home, then they are welcome to come here. We can't keep their kid away from us.
And then as a follow-up, is there that determination to the protocols if they've been diagnosed positive in the past, where they get one of these rapid tests and it says you got the antibodies you had? Are they now off the list that you can ignore list for them? Or can they get a again, or is that not clear?
I have not seen anything that says they are immune from infection again. So, unless somebody else has and they can show that to me, that'd be great. Go ahead.
Allergies.
Yeah.
You know, my son's been suffering with allergies right now, and he has allergies like I do. It's not just itchy eyes, runny nose. It's like a congestion, and of course it drains his sore throat. So when you go down that checklist, because he was here for football too, it's, you know, you got sore throat, yeah. You congested, yeah. Is your nose stuffed, yeah.
Right.
But
In those cases, what I'm going to ask parents to do, and this gets into a challenge for us here, I'll just be honest. What I'm going to ask parents to do is if your son, in this case, has allergies, he reports those to us, and I call you and say, hey, just so you know, such and such, and you go, he has allergies, those are all very normal symptoms of allergies, then at that point I think we can say he's fine. But it's going to be very hard for us to know when that is and when it isn't, and that's why sometimes we have to just err on the side of caution.
it's really hard for him to take allergy medicines because like majority of them interact with his prescription medicines. And ones that don't can, but they have improvement.
So we'll try to understand as much as we possibly can and do everything we can to keep it safe.
So, I mean, basically, it's an emerging symptom, not a persistent symptom, I guess, or different between the two. Like this.
Yes, because we'll be testing them every day.
Yes.
And so if they've had a cough for 17 days in a row, then we would have mentioned that
Right.
17 days ago, or we would have seen that 17 days ago and gone into the right protocol.
And then your guidelines are basically verbatim from the Saginaw County.
As much as we can.
Understanding of them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah? If there's a positive case, yes. At that point, what we do is we will then isolate the roommates for sure and tell the parents and say, there's a positive case in the room. Here's the tricky situation, we can't use the kid's name because of HIPAA regulations, so we can simply say, in this room, there was a positive case. So you will have to apologize, but that's just unfortunate. So you will have to come and get your child, or if you're from a distance, we will quarantine your child until the test comes back and proves that they are negative. Yeah.
Quick question, you were talking, one of the questions earlier about keeping the counters and dorm kids separate. But in the past, if there was adverse weather, the towners could sometimes stay in the dorms.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna be acceptable anymore?
No.
Now, is the school, which I know generally never closes, are you gonna make compensation, saying, we know this big storms, it's Michigan, snow gonna start tomorrow. Let us, towners out early to get home, to make accommodations, how's that gonna work?
We will try to do our very best. I don't think I want to go on record to say anything at this point. We're just planning on getting out of phase 4 by the time snow flies, but we also know Michigan that could happen tomorrow. We will work through those details as we can. Yeah, but as of right now, we haven't thought that part of it, so I'll be honest. We do have dorm space available, that it's possible, so. But we'll talk to the dorm staff much more prior to that time frame. Yeah?
So it's only 1,200 miles.
1,200 miles, okay, not 15,000, okay.
Regarding socialization, can the town students and the dorm students, hang out outside?
Yes,
So that's okay.
yeah, outside is okay, to the best of my knowledge. Okay. Last one, maybe? Go ahead.
So do you have a number if there are either positive or asymptomatic of where the whole student body then would be under a 14-day watch, or do you have protocol in place for that, or how is that going to be handled?
We do not have a specific number in mind because we didn't want to be locked in and say, well, if we get to 40, then we're going to. But we are well aware that there may be a time where we simply say, this is getting a little bit out of control, we need to figure out a way to extend the time. So, Vice President Donnell and I talked about that, but we specifically didn't want to put a number down, because we didn't want to be guided by a number, we wanted to be guided by the situation instead of a number.
For town students, will there be an option that they can get lunch in the cafeteria, or will they have to know?
Yes, town students will be able to eat lunch in the cafeteria. Yep. We will open up the sunken gardens to allow a little bit more space if kids want to eat outside. But there will be, yeah, they will have the option to eat, which is great, because my kids want to eat there. Okay. Thanks for your questions. Again, it's a fluid situation, and we're doing our very best to try to answer all those questions. I will admit that sometimes you may call and I'll simply say, I don't know. And then I may tell you something 10 minutes later, right? I may call you again and say, sorry, everything I said was wrong. And unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. So. Okay, quick notes for some attendance things on behalf of Vice President Donnell. As far as attendance, communication is vitally important. Communication from the parent to Vice President Donnell is really important. If you know you're taking a vacation and you would like to excuse your student from class, you need to tell him 2 weeks in advance. He needs to know that so that our professors can plan and try to get information to the students to keep them on pace. Appointments and things, you have this address here. All of our email addresses end in mlsem.org. You can simply type attendance and then email that to him. Ginny Ash is our attendance secretary, and Professor Donnell will take care of those things, or you have the number here. Planned absences, I think, is there. Calendars on the website. If you were to look on the bottom right of the website, you will be able to see all the different calendars. It has instructions there on how to coordinate your calendar or to implement those Google calendars into your own personal calendar. So there should be instructions that are there to follow if you need them. All of our calendar, our sports teams have the difference of an activity or event. Activity is the practice, the event is the actual game. So just so you understand how that works on the calendars. Activity is the practice, the event is the game. You'll see those. You can download as many or as few of those as you want, but that is the best way to know what's going on. Also on the website, there are different policies and procedures on the bottom left. When you enrolled using TANs, you signed that you read all of those. Thank you. Now might be the time to go read them. Okay, you're going to find a lot of information there. A lot of questions that parents have can be answered by looking at that. I will admit that a lot of questions I have at times could be answered by reading the policies and procedures before I ask the questions. It's a lot to take in, I get it. But please, you can look there. Also, the school catalog is on the bottom left side, so you have that information, please. Question 1.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me talk to you. Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me talk to you for just a moment. First of all, I will fully admit I make mistakes. I was looking over at one family that has had a number of children go through here. Hopefully they're okay with me telling this story. Their first son came in, he played football, and that first year Dean Kohler and I said we're going to put the names of the students on the helmets. So we put tape on the helmets. One of the students' names, as we were writing it, he had an L in his name, but there was a wrinkle in the tape. So I'm kind of picky about things. I pulled it off, smoothed it out. The L was now an I. His nickname now to this day is Dobie. His real name is Dole. We make mistakes, but we love getting to know your son, your daughter, helping them to see what their gifts are. So this is just real simply the college counseling that we do here. Well, MLS encourages them to consider ministry. There is also a blessing in that. And the blessing is that already at 9th grade, they're just simply asking, what are my gifts? And what is the ministry? So as I consider this, what am I considering? Then it moves on to, what is ministry levels and what are the levels of training? Okay, we have sophomore night, things like that. Then junior year, it's how could I use my gifts? Gauging my gifts. And then senior year, in what career will I use my gifts? That's just simply that as we go through this process of encouraging them to ministry, whether they go into ministry or not, they'll be prepared for a college of their choice. About 50% go on, about 50% go on to do something else. So I'd just like to show that to you today. Could you please raise your hand if you have gone to one of the Wells Ministerial Ed's prep schools, whether it be NPS, LPS, okay? How many of you, if you went to one of those schools but did not go into the ministry, please raise your hand. That's a blessing, right? It is a blessing that it is to our church body, that we have people that have gone through and are strong in God's word in that way. You've been wonderful at your churches and your schools, so it is a blessing. Your son or daughter will be prepared, but that is kind of what we think as we go through this. There's also a transition going on that I'm no longer registrar, so if you need transcripts, anything like that, letters of recommendation, that's from Professor Brian Kopp. The way you do that is you go onto Parchment, it's on the bottom of our website, and you sign up your son or daughter, and you can get their transcripts sent to you if you need it for something. There will be more information as we go through the year. So that's college counseling. Does anyone have any questions about anything with how we get anything for college? Any questions? The one last thing is with FAFSA night. It is not going to be in person this year. It's going to be virtual. Because it's virtual, we're actually going to change it to a weeknight. You'll be receiving a poll about that, what night of the week works best for you, and we'll then get you that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Professor Brian Kopp. I'm going to talk to you a couple different points today. First thing we'll talk about is Power School. We switched to Power School last year. It's our SIS system. It's called Student Information System. In simple terms, it's the electronic gradebook and attendance tracker. You can go on to this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to check on the updated grades. As soon as the teacher enters a grade, it's live and that information is available to you to be able to see. Same with attendance information. If you need information, if you've lost your password or if you've misplaced your login information or your credentials, please contact our administration office and they can assist you. They're the best point of contact for it. I like Power School. We switched from Infinite Campus a few years ago. It's simpler. I think just about everybody's happy. I hope from a parent's perspective you're happy with it. One of the reasons why we did make the switch is it is simpler. This is my daughter's. This is what it'll look like when you log in. Of course, there aren't any grades there since school hasn't started yet. But I want to just take a minute and just orient you to what you see on the screen here. So when you enter your login information, this is what you'll see your child's name, of course. On the very blue bar along the top, you'll see that both of my children, one is Elise, the other one is Greta. I could just simply click one or the other and it brings up their records. But since Elise is the oldest, hers is coming up first, and this is the list of the classes that she's taking. And I think it's worth noting here that where you see P1, E1, S1, I want to explain what those are. P1 is their live in progress grade. If you think of it like the following, all of the grades for the entire semester go into P1. The only grade that goes in E1, and E1 is the semester exam. That's the only grade that goes into that one. The semester exams are worth 15% of their grade, and the in-progress grade, what we would call P1, is 85%. The two of those together as a composite then make for semester 1, and then P2, E2, S2 are second semester. So that's what you'll see. One of the really nice things here, when you look at it, you'll see a percentage, hopefully a high percentage for your children and how they're performing, but you can click on it. So if I saw a 92%, I can click on that number, it will then drill in and you'll be able to see all the grades that make up that 92% in the semester. Okay? Also, does anybody have any questions about that portion? Okay. The left side here, that's all grade as last week, this week, that will show the attendance records. You'll be able to see if they were tardy to class. Hopefully you know if they have been absent. So that will show for each one of those courses. And that's pretty much the entire middle section there. On the left side, there are a few things that are worth noting. One of them, it's not on the screen, it's actually below in the panel that's on the left at the very bottom. This is really important. Each student has an advisor. And on their schedule that you saw printed in their folder today, in the upper right corner of their schedule, it says advisees. I created sort of a made-up class. And each advisor then is assigned a student, or student is assigned a particular advisor. And they are your best point of contact. If you have any questions about how they're doing, if you have questions about college and things like that, they can be a good point person. You can, of course, talk to me too. But underneath, on the left side, there's something that's called guidance log. And I just want to explain what that is and the value to you in being able to look at it. If every day 5, one of the things we do is I run a report that shows any student that has below a C- average at that moment in time in any class. All the advisors will then email this record, and the advisors then are to schedule a meeting with those students and talk to them. The record of that meeting and the discussions of those meetings are under the guidance log. And parents are able to view those and see, this is what and there's several things we identify. What is the class where they have below C-, the name of the class, and the current grade and percentage. We identify the student that explains what the cause is, what do they think is why they're struggling, and then their remedies or their solutions for doing it. We make records of those each cycle, I'll explain the 6-day cycle a little bit for those that don't know. But that's a key thing that you should know is there, and you can see it in live time. Again, if you see that they have below C- on a day 5, then the advisor should be meeting with them. Anybody have any questions on Power School or just in general? Yes?
Just something to point out as a parent in Power School that I like. You can configure Power School to email you a grade report once a week, and it just pops up on your email Monday morning around 6 a.m. and that saves you some time having to log in all the time.
Yes, he's not only a parent, he's a user in power school, he's a teacher, so he's very familiar with it. Yeah, you can increase the frequency, you can decrease the frequency, it's all up to you. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, thank you.
See their cumulative GPA.
Their cumulative GPA? Well, there's, I believe it's under the reports section. If you look in the upper right corner, you see a little print icon. You should be able to view it there, and then you click the print icon, and it comes up with a list of possible reports that are available. And I can't remember the name of the report that it's under. It isn't just a cumulative GPA; it's a summary sheet. But yes, it does have something. We do run. I should explain this. We as a faculty, at the end of every term, every semester has 3 terms. At the end of every term, we run reports and discuss the performance of all of the students. And one of the things we look at is cum GPAs. We look at their class ranking. The class ranking changes at the end of each semester, but it's something we're still aware of and we do keep track of.
Okay, I could find it for like that semester, but I never could find it for the whole year.
Okay.
What else can I get?
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I'll see if I can direct you to it. If you want to see me after we're done, I'll take that in your email and I'll see if I can send you something. Any other questions on this?
What is seminary's district code for power school?
District code, I don't have it at hand. I can get it for you though. It is something that I know I have. I have to pull it up and it's going to take me a minute to find it. So maybe I can do that if President Lutzow is taking the next part.
You don't need the district code, use the power school.
Yeah.
You need the initial address. You
Yeah.
don't need a district code if you follow that address. That was accurate.
That is something that I'm sure you'll put out in the Cardinal News that we send out next Sunday afternoon. You should get an email from us just with a bunch of information. And Professor Scott will make sure to include that, right, Professor Scott? He listens as well as my kids. He's finding it right now, so he doesn't have to do it later. Well done. Lunchtime is the program that we use in the cafeteria. We ask that you will get an email about this as well. It'll be included in that news that you'll receive on Sunday. It is the program that we use to manage how you pay for your students' lunch. So if you are at Tommy and you would like to eat in the cafeteria, don't bring cash down there. Go through the lunchtime program. There will be a link in. I think there's something in your student information that they got today about that. Also, you can go on our website and find it. Lunchtime is what we use for that. So, dress code. The best dressed ones here, of course.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dean Kohler. This is Dean LeBear. And we work the most with dress code stuff here on campus. And basically with the dress code, our goal in working with the students is to teach and encourage. And so when we work with students on this stuff, we're not looking at it from a discipline punishment standpoint. The only time it would get to there would be just disobedience, fourth commandment. So what we're doing is working with students on a daily basis and encouraging them, saying this is how we expect our students to dress. And so shorts are acceptable in August and September and in May. And they can't wear athletic shorts, they can't wear sweatpants. Those are the big ones. Those are the big things. But some of the other things that we're working with are just how students dress. We're encouraging them, when you're in class, it's like you're going to work. This is your job. And so dress a little bit nicer than if you're just hanging out on a Saturday with your friends. And so we're encouraging students to dress a little bit up for the classroom setting because they go to work and take this seriously. And so, but if there is a situation, it's not our strategy together to embarrass kids, stuff like that. It's more of hey, come over here, let's have a talk, and, encourage them, say, you know, this is what we expect from you, and this is how we're gonna help you get there. So, I'll let you add to that.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is that in this last school year, I think it happened the most, for a dormitory girl to get to school, they walk directly past my office. And a lot of times, you know, maybe a handful of them would say, is this okay to wear to school? And I really appreciate that, because that's communicating with us, and that's kind of having a little forethought with, you know, is this okay? 9 times out of 10, yes, it was okay. But I really like that they are comfortable enough to talk to us about it and are actually keeping us in the conversation. It's not trying to, you know, have a barricade of girls blocking the one that's inappropriately dressed as they're walking past my office. They're pretty open about it, which I really like. So keeping that communication open, and that includes with parents as well. If you're curious about, you know, what's allowed, what's acceptable, give us a call. We like to have those conversations because it is case by case. You know, there are thousands of different body types and all these different things. So it's not that everything one style is appropriate or inappropriate. We want them to look like they're ready for school and that they're, you know, dressed so in a way that they're showing respect for their school and for their classmates and their teachers. And that's all we ask.
Yeah, I think having those relationships built with the kids, we're able to have those discussions, and hopefully parents will have the comfort level to talk to us about those things too. And I think that the kids have responded well to this type of dress code in the last, 4 or 5 years. So we've been very pleased with that. Any questions that you have on the dress code?
What about hoodies?
Hoodies? For me personally, students will be in t-shirts and hoodies. That is pretty much their high school dress code, and it's fine. I personally, in my class, I will ask them to take down, their hoodie in class, whether they're traveling to classes, in between passing time. Kids will have their, hoodies or even a hat on. But I know in my class, I will tell them to take it down. I feel like that's a classroom thing. For the most part, I think all of our professors will usually ask them to take it, take their hoodie down. Especially now, it's hard to recognize people. And so, a hoodie on and a mask on, I'm going to struggle 100%. So, that would be my preference. But just they're appropriate to wear, but just take them down in class.
And know too that the rest of the faculty generally, they'll talk to students, but if there's a dress code issue, they defer to us. So if you have questions, one of us is probably going to be your contact person.
After school, the kids that are dormant can wear more lounge clothes?
Yes, they can, and we still take the opportunity at those times to say, to have those conversations, okay, your shorts, that's not appropriate right now, or after, And so we'll have those conversations in a very loving way, and so, sorry. Does that answer your question? No? I guess you're up, Professor Nauman. Thank you.
If you would, just take a minute, stand up, stretch a little bit, you guys have all been sitting for a little bit, please.
Yep. I did that. I was like, who is that? I saw Jason all during workouts. And then I said to Seth, who's in front? Who's in that line? And he's like, that's Nick and Jaden. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. I can't recognize anybody.
I just looked over like on the phone and I'm like, there's missing.
I know, yeah.
Because you can't see.
No.
Like, I figured,
Are they going to be wearing these in class too?
I don't know, I thought it's just one of the people that I knew, but I could be seeing them and not know who they are. So I don't know how that works. Yeah,
periods and
go
stuff.
walk out for a little bit.
I do want to stress one thing as we begin with extracurriculars. Professor Spooky said on his way out, he had a family obligation this weekend that he knew far in advance. He said, well, I'm going to forward all my emails and texts to you. I just want to remind you, as the assistant athletic director, I know very little. Please continue to forward and send all of your questions to Professor Spooky. So that's about it, but honestly, I don't know anything until it comes out. He gave me some notes. First of all, extracurriculars. Notice it doesn't say sports. Okay, extracurriculars include sports, but it also includes things like choir, service groups, things like that. It is good for your son or your daughter to be active in things. It helps them get to know the school, how to know others, how to work through issues with people. It's very good to be in extracurriculars that helps with academics. We do have some guidelines with eligibility.